Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Gilda Evans, bringing you the Autism Resource Podcast. This podcast and the ARP website are your one stop knowledge and resource space for autism and much more. I'm very happy to have Angela Andrieux join me as my guest today. Angela is a fine art photographer, photography coach, and product evangelist for Mylio Photos. She is passionate about helping others organize, edit, and protect their photos. She delights in the control Mylio offers for meticulous organization, satisfying her analytical side, while her creative side is captivated by photography, visual storytelling, and artistic image editing. Her diverse collection predominantly showcases travel, landscapes, cityscapes, and family moments. Welcome, Angela, and thanks so much for taking the time to join me and discuss the work that you do.
It's my pleasure to be here, Gilda. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So, to begin with, share a bit about yourself and your background in photography, organization, and memory keeping.
So, I've been a photographer for many, many years now, and I got into the organization space because that part came fairly easily to me. I did some research on how to best do it, what programs to use, and over time, other photographers started coming to me and saying, "Hey, I see that you're doing this well. How are you doing it?" And I started building up a coaching clientele. And I started working with photographers one on one. Over time, that led into working with companies like Mylio, where we make software that helps people organize their lifetime of photos. So it's been a rather organic progression. And I've been really excited to help people over the years be able to find and access their stuff and make sure it's backed up and protected. And really, that's what's very important to me is I want to make sure your stuff stands the test of time.
All right. So tell me then a little bit more about Mylio Photos. What is it? How does it help people manage their growing photo connections? Let me say that again. And you know what? I'm also going to change the view on this because for some reason it does not seem to be cooperating. So,
No worries.
all right. Um, so then tell me a little bit more about Mylio Photos and how it helps people manage their growing photo collections.
Yeah, so this application, it works cross-platform, so it's Mac, Windows, iOS, and Android. And you install it on all of your devices, and it allows you to bring all of your pictures in from all of your different sources. So most of us, we're managing pictures, of course, from our phones. We're taking snapshots every day. And then we may or may not have or had a standalone camera and have folders of images on our computer or external drive. Bring those into Mylio. You might have old things in shoe boxes and things that you've scanned and things that have been handed down to you from generation to generation. You can digitize all those and get everything into one central library so you can see your entire life in pictures. And then because this is installed on all of your devices, you can access all of those memories from any of those devices. So whether you're out and about on your phone or you're sitting at your computer, it doesn't matter. You can do things like face tagging. You can do all sorts of adding details to make sure that those memories and all of that, those stories are preserved. Mylio helps you in a lot of different ways to get those all those things organized. So bringing them all together is just kind of step one. There's a lot of different views inside of Mylio that help group things in intelligent ways. For instance, we have a calendar view that puts everything, regardless of what source it came from, onto one beautiful calendar that you can see your life in pictures. It uses the GPS information in your pictures and it can put them all on a map. You can even add that GPS location information to pictures that don't have it. And of course, facial recognition. It's got amazing AI facial recognition. So you can go through, tag all the people who are important to you. And then in the people view, you can click on a person's face and you can see all of their pictures. So if you're, depends on how you're looking for stuff, how your mind works. If you remember things by who was there, where they happened, when they happened, no matter how your recall works, it can help you find those things. And that's without having to necessarily go in and do a lot of manual effort. For those who want to take it further, it has the ability to help you organize your folders, group things into albums, all sorts of other tools that most other software has. And you might be thinking, okay, this sounds really similar to just about every other photo management software out there. The thing that makes Mylio unique, it is very privacy focused and very much focused on local storage. So where most other services these days want you to put everything in the cloud, Mylio is local storage first. You have the option to use cloud storage for offsite backup and protection. It's a wonderful tool. But we firmly believe that you should have a copy of your own stuff that you keep locally, and we help you do that. And another beautiful thing about this is not a closed ecosystem. So you're not just getting a package file that you can't access. You have access to your entire photo library in your file system without having to necessarily jump through hoops to export those things out because everything is an open, non-proprietary industry standard format. So that's what really sets us apart. So people who are interested in access and privacy will find this to be an amazing tool in addition to all of the other things it has going on for it.
Okay, so I'm listening to what you say, and I know that, I personally have thousands of photos, as many people do, and especially people who are neurodivergent or disabled. They have, certain challenges, that they have to deal with when they're trying to organize, or when they're trying to deal with a particular piece of hardware or software and all of that. And very often people or families just feel overwhelmed by the idea of having to deal with something like this. So, what are some simple first steps to get people started?
So the simplest first steps is to have, let's say you have your phone, you have a computer, and maybe an external hard drive. Install Mylio Photos on your computer and your phone and let Mylio ingest all of the stuff off your camera roll. That will automatically, if you've got that external drive connected and Mylio is aware of it, it'll give you a backup. That'll just get you started. That gets those pictures into Mylio, and then what you do with them from there really depends on your personal needs. And especially speaking of somebody who is neurodivergent, each of these people tends to think through things a little bit differently. And I think Mylio is really well tailored to people who have different ways of organizing. So if you want to focus on the people in your library, that's very easy to do. If you want to focus on dates, if you're very numerically inclined and you like things in a very easy to use chronological order, Mylio makes that super simple. And then, of course, there's just general search. So if you want to just type in something in search, it has AI smart tags. So it does object recognition. It does OCR, which is optical character recognition. It reads text and photos. So there's a lot of different tools for the way that different people think and process information.
Okay, well, that sounds good. So then tell me, what are some of the biggest risks to our digital photo library, and what are some best practices for making sure that those photos and videos aren't lost over time?
So the biggest risk, I think, for a lot of people is they think their stuff is backed up because maybe they use an iPhone or Android phone and they've got an account with Google or Apple, and they think that everything's being backed up to the cloud, everything is safe. The truth is that unless you're paying for additional cloud storage, that's probably mostly all sitting on your phone. Maybe some of those images in lower quality have been uploaded to those services, but chances are your phone holds a lot more than whatever free storage that service is giving you. So a lot of people have the kind of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Let me start that again. A lot of people feel safe when they are not necessarily so because they think their stuff is backed up and it's really not. So if you lose your phone becomes damaged, stolen, it falls over the edge of a boat into a lake. All those types of things can happen to our phones. If your stuff isn't properly backed up, you lose those images. That could be your kids' first steps. That could be their first words. That could be the last moments you spent with a loved one. There's so many precious things that we take pictures of. And if you only keep them in one place, if that one place becomes compromised, they're gone. So the advice that I like to give people is to consider the 3-2-1 backup rule. So that is you have 3 copies of your data on at least 2 different types of media with one of them offsite. So a practical way of doing this is you have your working copy of media. So that's your phone. You then, whether you use something like Mylio or something else, you use another tool to make a copy elsewhere. So Mylio can do that for you. You connect your camera roll. It can automatically duplicate that to an external hard drive so you have a backup. And then an offsite copy, that can be if you want to pay for iCloud or if you want to pay for Mylio's cloud storage, or you want to have a computer and a hard drive in a family member's house offsite. Having a copy that's not geographically where you are is a really good way to do that. So 321, three copies, two different types of media, one offsite. And that covers you for most of those situations. So, you always have your working copy with you, but if that something happens to that, you've got that local backup you can reach for and access very easily. If something catastrophic happens, you have that third copy that's off-site and you can always get your stuff back. So that's the biggest thing that I like to teach and help people configure is making sure their stuff is in more than one place.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, a lot of families and people, individuals who are listening to this episode rely on visual communication.
Mhm.
And so, for people for whom that is true, how can an organized photo collection be a valuable tool?
Well, I mean, if for people who communicate visually, photos are those tangible visual memories that we have. And it's a great way for people to share what's going on in their lives. It's a great way to communicate what they're feeling, what they're seeing, what they're experiencing, especially if they're not easily able to put those things into words. So, for somebody who is neurodivergent, if they are inclined to pick up a camera, they can communicate things that way that, they're not going to be able to communicate maybe some other way. And so, being able to keep those things organized chronologically, however it makes sense for you, tagging the important things in there, I think can be a real boon to a lot of families.
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that, and that makes a lot of sense also. Now, if someone listening wants to, let's say they want to start organizing their photos today, say, hey, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that right now. What would be the first thing that you recommend they do, and what words of encouragement would you offer them? And also, I want to invite you if there's anything else that I haven't asked or we haven't mentioned at this point that you think is important to, please go ahead and do so.
So, for somebody just starting out, I'm going to make an assumption here and say, okay, you've got a computer. That's going to be probably the best first place to start. Go out and get yourself an external hard drive. If you've got years and years of digital photos, if you've been a prolific person taking lots of photos, you might need a larger drive. If you haven't done a whole lot or you're just trying to offload things off your cell phone, a 1 to 2 terabyte smaller drive, very inexpensive, will help. It doesn't have to be a fast SSD. Those are really nice, but it's not required. You can use an inexpensive traditional hard drive. So get yourself a dedicated drive for just your photos, connect that to your computer, and download Mylio Photos. When you do that, if you sign up for a subscription and you can even get a free trial, you get a one-on-one consultation with one of our experts. You'll get on a Zoom call and they will walk you through what those best first steps are. And they're going to take a look at what your situation is and be able to, am I supposed to, I can't read it.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
What, start that again. I forgot to mention to you, and Chris, you'll edit this out. And please remember where you started and start that again. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I forgot to mention at the beginning that as a nonprofit, I can't necessarily promote and say, and here's how you find Mylio and so on and so on and so forth. But that doesn't mean you can't say your URL.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So I'm sorry. So
that's
please.
okay. So I just saw the sticky note, but I couldn't see what it said. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I
I
don't know
don't
what
know
I'm
why.
trying to
I
do
don't know
here.
why it wasn't. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was like, is there a flag that I was supposed to know about? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Um, let's see. Where should I begin again? Okay. So if you're just getting started, what I would recommend is starting out with your computer and get yourself an external drive. It doesn't have to be a big one unless you are a really prolific photographer and you've taken many, many terabytes of images. For most people, a 1 to 2 terabyte drive, and it doesn't even have to be a fast SSD. You can get a traditional drive. Those are pretty inexpensive. Get yourself one of those. And there are many different ways that you can get your images off of your phone. And I would say do that. Offload the pictures that are currently on your phone today, get those copied over to a hard drive. If you want to use something like Mylio Photos, that has automated tools in it that can automate that process, make it a lot easier for you to do. I do, would let's see. Um, I'm tripping over my words now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I threw you off. If
That's all right.
and you were saying if, Mylio gives you, a lot, opportunity to download and so on.
Right. Okay. So I would take all of those pictures that are on your phone and get them onto that external drive. There's several mechanisms to do that. If you use something like Mylio Photos, that can automate the process and keep that ongoing for you as you move through time. So that's an option. So making that first copy, making sure your stuff is in more than one spot. Then locate a tool that can help you get some of those things organized. Go through the pictures, get rid of the junk, delete duplicates. And again, there's tools inside of Mylio Photos or other image editors to help you cull down that library to a more manageable amount. You don't have to save everything. So that's probably tip number one. You don't have to save everything. Tip number two is organizing a photo collection, whether it's 1,000 photos or 500,000 photos. It's overwhelming to start. I'm not going to lie, it can feel like a massive undertaking. So I recommend people take it in small little chunks. Assign yourself 10 minutes a week or 30 minutes or whatever your schedule allows. And then work on small little portions of your library. Say, I'm going to organize stuff from the last 30 days. Let me just get those under control and then start moving backwards. Don't feel like you have to get it all done at once. And then, as far as creating a habit for organizing the new stuff that you take, I would focus on those, keeping those better organized. And as you have time to go back and organize the old ones, it's great to get those done, but try to find a system that works for you for moving forward. So that's really where I would start. And if you choose to use something like Mylio Photos, we do have experts that can guide you through that. We have a lot of information, documentation to help make that process as smooth and automated as possible.
Okay. Now something that comes to my mind, and I know probably to a lot of other people's minds who are listening, is affordability.
Mhm.
This is something that a lot of families in this community are concerned with, because they have a lot of other things on their plate that they have to pay for and expenses and so forth. So are most of these programs, including Mylio and other programs you may be familiar with, is this something that's affordable for people to do?
I think it is. And it really depends on what you want to do with your media. So Mylio Photos to start out is, I think, $240 a year, and it is a subscription. The beauty of this product, though, is you are not locked in for life. It is a system that allows you to organize the stuff that lives on your own media. So if at any time you decide, you know what, this subscription is really not serving me anymore, all of your stuff is in better shape and more organized than when you started, and you have a copy of it on your hard drive. You can take that and load it into Apple Photos, Google Photos, whatever it is that you want to use, or just have it sitting on your hard drive. So nothing is going to be taken away from you. You're not going to lose any of your pictures should you decide to cancel. Um, the other thing is the Mylio Photos application. If you have the subscription, great. If you decide to stop paying it, you can still open the program. You can still access everything inside of the program. It's just not going to automatically sync in your new pictures from your phone. It's not going to keep your external drives updated and so forth, but you can still view everything. So you're not locked out. I think that's a really critical piece. And, there are a lot of other probably less expensive and free options out there for people. And it really just depends on what you need. Some people might be perfectly happy with using something like an Apple Photos or a Google Photos, but I do highly recommend having a copy outside of their ecosystem just for that backup. So there's multiple ways to get this done. Um, and there's different price points to fit different families and different families' needs.
All right. Well, thank you for all of that very useful information, Angela. I appreciate you joining me today and for your time and sharing your story with us.
My pleasure. I'm always happy to talk about photos and organization and all that. It's fun for me. I'm weird.
It's a good kind of weird, though.
Yeah.
Well, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast. You can find it on Apple iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, and other popular platforms. We'd appreciate you taking the time to leave us a review. You can also listen to the podcast on YouTube at ARP Social, where you'll find bonus content. And be sure to follow us on Facebook or Instagram to get up-to-date notifications about the latest news and episodes. If you would like more information on anything else we've covered on the Autism Resource Podcast, visit us online at autismresourceproject.org/podcast. Be sure to check out our growing website often, since we are continually adding useful information and resources. I want to thank our listeners for spending part of their day with us. This is the Autism Resource Podcast, and I'm Gilda Evans, reminding you to take care of yourself and that special person in your life.